I'm looking at that because everyone else. So I'll open the meeting 7 p.m. and we are having a hearing on the subdivision on South Village property. Here. Head of director do the honors, swearing him in.
Sure.
And anyone else who's going to testify on the he's disappeared. Oh, well.
Just so you understand, Robert, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. We try to be very friendly, very informal, but because it is a quasi-judicial hearing, everything that's said has to be done under oath. So I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give and matters before the planning commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You so swear under the pains and penalties of perjury. Thank you. You're now under oath. Was there anybody else who wishes to offer testimony? Okay. As long as our one minute.
Okay. So I need to let everyone know that I did. I was contacted by a neighbor of Ron's, Mr. Fahey, and he explained to me that he had concerns because originally the well shield was going over on his property and potentially making his parcel on that side of the road unbuildable. And I explained that we don't have anything in our zoning that would remedy that, and it's best approach was to talk to you, or if you just going to have to hire an attorney. And so I want everyone to know that on the commission and also including you, you already know that. And because we're not supposed to have ex parte communication with people, but that was informational, so I didn't feel that that was a significant problem. So if you could explain what you're doing with the subdivision and also how you work things out with your neighbor, that would be great.
My neighbor didn't like the placement of the well, because we planned to build across the road, and so I moved the well, so it's 200 feet from this property, was out of the impact zone, and still 110 feet away from my basement, so I mean, it's all correct.
So I have the, I don't have the new drawing, but I do have the original drawing, which is showing how his parcel, I think this is the one. This is showing Fahey, not this one. Yeah, but he's also on the other side of the road, and that's where. So let me show that. But it's been changed. So it was originally going to go across the road onto Fahey's property, the well shield. And you can see where the well is on that drawing, if you can see it. And he's moved the well. He's moved the well way back behind the house over towards his, closer to his boundary. And did you have to move any place?
No, the field was there, he drew the field was there off to the right too much. I redrew the field for him because he was off.
Oh, where the actual one is?
Yes.
Okay, so that by moving the well that far back onto his property, now it's not encroaching on Fahey property at all.
I'm out of the
And so what are your plans with this subdivision?
I'm planning on selling my house, 2.9 acres. Retaining the rest.
Okay. And what are your plans for the rest of the property?
I have no plans to do that. I'll be going to timber and sugar.
Okay.
Have you got done a septic design and set up for the 74 acres
No,
that you're retaining?
no, because I have no plans to do it.
And you haven't as far as I know, it has not yet been, it's been submitted to the state, but hasn't come back
Right, I had a number from the state, right, from the state,
saying it's approved.
not saying.
It's in process.
They received it all, and then it has the permit.
Okay, yeah. So in my conversation, it takes about 3 weeks. Is that your experience, Bob, with septics?
Yeah,
That's septic approval, that's just for lot number 2.
Right,
Lot 1, you haven't done the perk test or anything like that?
now, 74 acres, I'm sure. One permit, the one, it's permit, 74 acres.
Should be able
I have no plans on it.
Does anyone have any questions? Anyone in the audience? Anyone online? Yeah, that, you should be able to see the people that are online.
Yeah, it has a video.
So Colin Kennedy, Carol Taylor, Don Kidder, and Stuart, who I believe is on the Conservation Commission. And I never remember his last name. Ross, yes, Stuart Ross. So, all right, well, I think, as long as we get a document showing the change that you, described, and we get the official word from the state that it's all fine.
Yeah.
It complies with our rules. You did not see any issues, Bob, with that subdivision?
Now,
Okay, so I think we can close the hearing and we'll move it along as quick as we can.
okay,
And so your next step is when you get a decision in writing from the planning commission, Bob will also get that and you'll issue a permit. And then you have 15 days to wait after Bob issues the permit for an appeal. And after that point,
we had 180 days to turn in a Mylar and a digital copy.
that's correct, yes. Yes, you have to do that, you have to actually file the documents for the subdivision, it's not.
right, since I get ready.
Sounds good?
Like, do those have to be signed by another planning commission as approved or?
Not the Mylars?
Yeah, because it talks about in your, subdivision that, about asylum process.
I don't think the planning commission signs Mylars. If that's in the bylaw, it's an unintentional error. So we can figure that out.
Yeah, right, yes.
We'll find it.
Okay.
Okay, but that's not, I don't think we should be signing the Mylar, we don't know if it's done correctly.
You're accepting it, appointees five.
Yes, but we're not, it's like notarized or something, we're not doing it to the actual survey. Okay, that's good.
I'm all set.
You're all set.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
See ya.
Now I'm gonna share my another screen. And so. While I'm trying to get this open, we should just. we need to discuss and so that the, I have to issue a written decision, so we have to make sure, if you want to authorize me to do the written decision. Okay. All right. As it goes through, I find this process more and more cumbersome, it's ordering on. I won't use the next word, but
There's nothing wrong with amending,
that's what
amending
I'm
the
working
bylaws to
with.
make
It's
the
like,
process smooth.
yeah, so I have to, that's okay,
But if that's the requirement in the current bylaw, then that's what we have to do.
right.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Marcy to, render the decision.
Okay, proving a subdivision as presented. Okay, with a condition on, state approval of, the wastewater. permit
Yes,
as
you didn't
discussed.
hear me say that?
I did, I just sort of repeating. So now, I put everything in Google Docs.
Can we vote on that motion?
Oh, yes, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Okay. All right, so the agenda. Which y'all can see there and here, so. Would anyone like to make a change to the agenda? Okay. No changes? Can we change one? Okay. So, any public comments? Okay. We can go to the minutes.
Do you want me to share?
What I want to do is just go to the next document.
I could click back and then drag it
Yeah.
out.
Oh, we had it. It was there.
It's hard for me to see my. I don't even know what, am I sharing it?
No,
What happened? What happened? So what am I doing?
go to your Google Drive, or Google.com.
Okay. Okay, so what do I do now? I'm not where I want to be.
Oh, just double click on where, and then see the tab right next to the drive, so you just go back to that tab. This one, just click back on that tab, and it's like,
Okay, nobody can see this.
no, so just go.
Oh, okay, then share my screen. Okay, so the next order of business is, minutes, and we have, July 6th meeting in which only Ted, Monique, and I were present, so we had to wait for Ted to come back to approve the meeting, and this meeting concerned authorizing us to hold hybrid meetings. Because what I understood is you can't just do that. So,
I'll make a motion to approve both the July 6th and the July 26th.
okay, and do you want to see the July 20th?
Well,
And then you're gonna have to tell me again, when we can go back to that full game screen, just to minimize. And then I'll
you just have this thing for the page.
Oh, I see. Okay. So then and the next one.
Yeah.
Is for July 20th. That was the last meeting that we had, and Ron, Monique and I were present. We reviewed subdivision sketch of Ron Covey's, we passed minutes. We talked about bylaws and conflict of interest. Zoning issues, talked about the upcoming BCRD meeting, and I updated the planning commission on select board action. So motion to approve these two sets of minutes.
I can make the motion. Through this one, I don't know what it's there for.
Right.
Monique already made a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Okay, and then people that were present at the meetings can approve them, if that's okay? Okay, so I approve, or you approve, and Ted approves?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the next item on the agenda is, if you all remember, we applied for a grant on, connecting downtown with the lower plain. It was an engineering study. And we did get it approved we did move forward on it, but we were turned down because we already had a municipal planning grant. And if you have a municipal planning grant, could you also get this grant? So my question to you all is, do you have interest in resubmitting this exact grant and letting the select board know that it's contingent on not going for a municipal planning grant this year? Do you want to look at something different? I became aware of the fact that there are no, for instance, there's sidewalks on High Street. And would it be better to look at having sidewalks throughout the village? To increase the ability for people to get around rather than something that's more extensive and is actually including the bridge, which everyone in Brown has feels it should get repaired, but it's not on the list. So that this is like to discuss as to what you would like to do, because the municipal planning grant is coming up. They're due quite soon, and many different groups in the town can apply for the planning grant. I don't know if somebody already is working on doing that.
There's none that I've heard of, but that doesn't mean one of our committees or commissions isn't thinking about something.
Right. So it's just, I just wanted it to be brought back up to you all as to what you think would be good.
I guess my initial impression is the overall potential long-term benefit to the town would be more felt if there was better access to connecting the two than what's that High Street.
Right,
That's only gonna really benefit High Street.
okay,
I guess what I'd like to see is an assessment of where we have a need for better pedestrian access, rather than us saying High Street or the lower plain. Let's talk about where in Bradford are people walking? Where they need,
should they,
or would they like to walk, but they just, the facilities just don't exist. So rather than us specifying things, I don't know if it's.
We need to do it to find a way to do a more
Yeah, I-
generic study on sidewalk needs or pedestrian travel needs in the town.
Yeah, throughout the entire. Yeah.
Okay. I can check with Two Rivers to see if this could apply or if there's,
I mean, it's pretty dated now, but Two Rivers out of Peachy did do that sidewalk assessment 10 or 15 years ago, I can't remember. And I know a lot of the sidewalks have been upgraded since then, but a lot have.
right,
And, we should dust off that assessment and see what's there.
Okay.
But also, it may well be that there are parts of town far out of the village where lots of people walk along the roads for whatever reasons. And maybe we need something better out there.
right, or even connecting other sidewalks all the way from the high school. I'm not sure. I know my daughter used to run it.
No, yeah, the sidewalk runs up to the Catholic Church. And,
I mean, there's the extra wide breakdown, I think.
yeah,
Right,
but I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that the sidewalk runs right up to the boundary where Bradford Village used to end, and that's where it stops.
It's not right at the Galilee Church Hall.
okay. So there's a small section, because my recollection, I know my daughter they used to send them running from the school downtown and back. So, and I would imagine like to encourage kids to walk to school also, right?
Given the shortage of bus drivers, I think that's what it is.
Buy everybody a car.
Yeah.
That's what seems to be the answer.
Well, all right, so I will see if we can get a more generic idea, but I guess I'd like to send can I send a note to the select board alerting them that the municipal plan grant may impinging on getting other grants, just so that there can be some awareness as to what you all, I say you all, because you're all here, but what it, that there are implications to it, so that when you're making a decision, it's informed, I guess, or you're aware, and you also can inform the planning commission, because why waste our time? Okay, all right, so I will check on that for the next meeting. Now. So then the next item, is about the neighborhood designation. And I went to the forum back in July. And sort of an option of that didn't actually transpire in the meeting, but I, talking about something that's, and I don't remember something, how this happened, but I was directed to talk to Richard Amber, who's, oversees this program. And, he suggested that there was an opportunity for Brad to benefit from this better connections, from this neighborhood designation. And what the neighborhood designation is it builds on the village designation. And in general, we go out, this is a quarter of a mile. And just some links that I sent you all. From the village designation, and it will incorporate a lot of the residences in the village, and it's a radius. But in Bradford, since most of everything to the east, most of it to the east is floodplain, and there's no houses. And to the south, we've got the river and the impediment of, I guess, a farm and plateau acres geography, that they do have some leeway where they could potentially include all of the village, what we used to call as a village. And it provides benefits to the town, because it's another point when you're doing applications for grants and for the village designation. It also provides benefits to property owners, including people like businesses like Downstream, for tax credits. And I think it's a program that would be really beneficial to our town, you can get, let me see if I can tell you all the different. It gives you, because there's a difference between downtown designation and village center designation. The village center designation gives you a lot of benefits, but does not give you nearly the same amount of benefits that the downtown designation does. It helps with actually 50 thresholds. So if there's somebody that comes in and is interested in doing, is subdividing property to build homes, they run into a limitation of that 250, and I think it's a 5-mile radius. If they do more than 6 subdivisions, basically 6 homes, they then start to fall under Act 250, but this would remove that constraint. It also gives you, reduces the Act 250 fee, and it gives you some other benefits that have not been specifically allocated, but it will help to benefit in terms of some of our larger homes in the village that could be developed in the lots that are in our village that could be developed more than they currently are.
There are downsides to those things.
I mean, there's, the downside is if you don't, or only if you don't like that.
So it's putting more restraint on people.
It's putting less constraint.
It's waiving fees, waiving applications.
Waiving fees and reducing Act 250 oversight. We know our 10-acre town, but that doesn't, there's still Act 250 applications if, for instance, someone subdivides a lot down in Fairleigh, and then they subdivide a lot in Newbury and in Bradford, and if they've done 6 subdivisions. Now, in the future subdivision they do in the next 5 years, it is, falls under Act 250. And so there are, and some people fall under, some entities fall under that already. I don't know if Down Street does, but they may have. And
So what would be wrong with that? I'm sorry, I just don't.
well, it makes, it's an impediment to developing housing, which is a need throughout the state. And that's one of the benefits to doing this. It's to help to encourage increased housing. And one of the things that we've done with our zoning and our primarily with our zoning is to reduce the lot size in Bradford, and we're making accessory dwelling units more available to people, so that in the downtown, you'll be able to create a lot because you have water and sewer. That's only 6,000 square feet. Whereas before, I think it was half an acre, maybe quarter of an acre. It was quite a lot bigger than you would know.
Yeah.
And the setbacks have been reduced, and what that does is maybe it was 10,000 square feet before.
I think it was 10,000 soon ago.
Right, so what that does is that enables many properties in town to create another housing unit in that town itself, which will help to bring more people into town and help with the housing demand that is anticipated over the next, well, immediately and ongoing. So that it's sort of.
Has there been any need or request for anything on this?
There are a number of people that are looking to invest in developing properties. The Broner brothers have purchased Rick Colley's house and are turning that into a 2-unit housing unit. There are a number of other investors that are looking to do the same. I mean, we're sponsoring housing group, and there are a number of people that attend that who are looking to do that sort of thing. There's clearly a lack of housing there. I have rental properties in Bradford and Newbury, and I have no trouble renting them. I don't know what you're saying, Susan, but I have, and I don't have any trouble finding good tenants. In the past, I could go months with a vacancy, and and it's not just here, but one of the problems that it presents is that if we don't have enough people, there are enough houses, and that we can move here, so we can't find employment. Copeland's expressed that in the economic development forum, that he can't find enough people to work at his business. And he's actually looking into developing the property that he owns for houses geared towards his employees. So there's definitely a demand and it's an opportunity to help the process along. It's taking out state regulations primarily, reducing the state burden, and not really changing the town burden at all. The town still has the same oversight with our zoning. We worked on having our zoning gear more towards what is called better places, and that's what some of the changes in the zoning have been based on, the proposals that we're working on, just encourage denser housing, and by having more people living there and having more people live in the village.
So instead of quality of housing, you're looking for quantity of housing.
No, it has nothing to do with, it's not downgrading quality at all. It's, we need more housing. And the problem with a lot of the housing that's available is it's well over $200,000 a piece. And many people can't even begin to come up with that. I don't know, we're still in real estate, I mean, that's
That's all.
400,000, it's house across from me, so it's a modular that's sold for, I don't know, a ridiculous amount, almost $300,000.
I mean, double.
Manufacturing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real estate market is bonkers, and it's just.
There's a lack of inventory across the board, whether it's apartments or single family homes.
Because there's not enough houses.
Yeah,
So we don't want to have, we're not advocating poor quality. It's just creating the environment to encourage people to invest in building homes here, and to moving here in an affordable way, because most people don't have the resources that are needed now to build a house. You can't, to build a house is very expensive, but to buy the houses that are on the market is really prohibitive to most people, certainly younger people that are starting out, just don't have resources. So,
So in general, from what I've initially heard.
and I think it's like a village designation. It's another point on the grant systems for the town. So the town benefits when they're going for the grants for road improvements or whatever types of, and that I really know that better, that there's that you have certain points for everything. That's when you should get a village designation, and then you have extra points to your step up when you're competing against somebody else. So it benefits the town that way, and it should benefit the town too by having a more vibrant town. So I don't know if you all want to read that over, if you want me to pursue the application.
I would have a motion to pursue it.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Okay, so I will look into that. Thank you.
Just one,
Does that,
I just can't tell today, right? Oh, it's not later.
well,
I just never did want to move, yeah.
I was complimented on what I did here, and then I had, I didn't even do it. I did it, but I was someone sat next to me and instructed me, my daughter. So the next part is the bylaw, proposed bylaws and the conflict of interest policy. The conflict of interest policy is the same as what the select board has. Got that from Danielle at the last meeting. But the bylaws are different because, and rules of procedure, because we have a more specific, unique way of doing things and what we're responsible for. We have to have hearings and, so I put together another, and we have different responsibilities than the select board. So I outlined what the basic responsibilities were for the planning commission. And then I talked about, otherwise I follow the same pattern, but it does have differences. It has the membership, it follows along in terms of, again, it's slightly different than the select board because people on the planning commission get appointed, I believe, on effective March 31st. Were appointed, not elected, and so that's when we would hold our first organizational meeting. Otherwise, as far as I understand, we're following the pattern of a generic rules of procedures. I did lay out exactly what the clerk, obviously, me, should do in terms of the minutes and the responsibilities for posting them and following the rules for that. And they also laid out the responsibilities for when there's a new member, the different information that should be provided to them, because I know that has not been done in a consistent way in the past. So I don't think you got anything. Did anything when you were new? Yeah. So, and I think that's really helpful to people, especially if they're completely new to town business. And then it went over the organization meeting. And requirements for posting information. Went over things like the motions will not require a second for discussion because we're too small of a board to require that. And it's not requiring us, if somebody wants to make a motion, they can make it, they don't have to get voted on by people. And it also says things like, because we're pretty relatively informal, we don't have to follow Robert's rules of order unless somebody requests it, and it's majority agrees with. So my understanding is that if we're interested in this rules of procedure, that we need to send this to the select board for them to review it. Is that correct? We can't just sign it.
You know, I should know this, but truthfully, I don't. It seems to me that if a commission wants to hold itself to a certain standard, I don't know why the select board would disallow that, but I think it's probably a good idea because there does need to be consistency among all the different town boards and commissions.
Do you have a comment?
I have a comment. I think your bylaws and rules of procedure are two different things, and they should be two different documents, so that you can change them easier and approve them easier. Because your bylaws shouldn't be changing very much, but your rules of procedure are, and I think you would be better off to have them two documents.
Okay.
And I would think you'd want to run by the board, as Ted just said, just for consistency purposes.
I mean, it is true that because the planning commission does hold these quasi judicial hearings, I mean, even though what we did tonight was very informal, it was in fact
Yeah.
a quasi judicial hearing, so it's different from other boards and commissions, but still, there needs to be a reasonable degree of consistency between all the different town boards. And
Well, we have
commissions.
more, one of the things it says is that we provide copy of the zoning and the subdivision, all the bylaws that this board is responsible for to remember, but, you know, the select board doesn't have to provide that. So I think it needs to be unique to the planning commission. I'm happy to submit this to the select board, for review. I don't see any reason not to, Bob?
Do other commissions, when they do bylaws, procedures, will it be conservation or Parks and Rec, didn't they have to get some approval from the board in order to fall under what they, how they want it to operate?
Yes,
And that's one reason why the two different documents, because you might change one more than you would the other. And
I remember when I first joined the select board, there was, I won't say a lot of controversy, but there were questions as to why the planning commission said something like at least 5 of the 7 members shall be Bradford residents, and the bylaws for the newly formed Parks and Recreation Commission said all members shall be Bradford residents. And I remember saying, I don't care which it is, but it seems to me we should be consistent among different boards and
Well-
commissions. I was told, you're the new kid on the select board, shut up.
Well, and with the planning commission, that's actually a statute that you
Right.
have some people that are from out of town, there's a reason for that, because there's a level of technical expertise. So you could benefit from having, you know, Kevin Geiger on here because he knows all the rules.
Right, yeah, in our case, George Pratt was on the planning commission. When he moved to Fairleigh, the question was, can you stay on the planning commission? And the answer was yes. But at least, you know, at least people asked that question and looked into it.
and if that was in the bylaws, that would be clear.
But what is in the statute, the state statute?
Yeah, but you don't have the state statute there that you're following, but you could have your bylaws.
I do, they're attached to this document.
So with this proposed clarification is what you're proposing is adopted? Or what will this change from where we're at right now?
Well, what it will change is, I don't remember ever seeing one. I'm sure there was one. I don't remember seeing one. You know, I would join under Justin and I don't remember seeing one again. And I think it's just, this is how I would imagine more complete than whatever was there before. But I think we need to have this just more formalized, because there is a paragraph in there that says the chair runs the meeting and somebody stops.
If you miss 6 meetings in a year, you're out.
Yeah,
60%.
60%, it says if you don't attend meetings, the planning commission can't keep anyone on. That they can recommend to the select board, and all the select board will have to vote to remove somebody. But it's in there saying you should attend the meetings, because we've had, in the past, issues with that. Yes,
Is this the first time the other board members have seen this?
yes, no, I sent it out, one
Yeah, but I'll tell you, this meeting this week,
yeah,
I would urge you strongly not to vote on this tonight. Take it home, devour it, and at your next meeting, vote on it. So that everyone, each one of you understood completely
that's fine.
what is in this package.
I was just gonna say, I only had an opportunity to skim it very, very quickly this afternoon. I haven't really had a chance to digest it, so I was gonna suggest the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think that would be good. But I would like you all to actually.
Oh, it's good.
You want us to read it?
Yeah.
Maybe a test next week.
I read
I read the first paragraph,
yeah,
but I also have a violation already. We've already adopted this, we were already in violation.
what is that?
Because you need to put the minutes and all this information out before. I'm not picking.
No,
I'm just-
no.
That was the reminder email that came out this morning.
I have nothing to do with it.
Well, check your spam filter, because I got something.
I did, I made it. I'm not perfect on all the other things at all.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm just saying.
Yes, I know.
I didn't get anything serious.
Really? 'Cause, you know,
I got incensed in the tent one time, and I always like that, it's just head and point. I'd see email from you, but.
This is all the time. You know, anyway, I honestly.
We got yesterday at 5:25.
What?
They got it yesterday at 5:25.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Good job.
Anyway, so yeah, I did have a question about, the conflict of interest policy that is the towns. That was confusing to me, that I thought would be important for, for people, because we have hearings and so we have conflicts of interest that can pop up all the time. And it was under prohibited conduct. And it says a public officer, which is a, a public officer shall not personally or through any member of his or her household represent, appear for, or negotiate in private capacity on behalf of any person or organization that has an interest in an official act or action pending before the public body in which the public officer holds office. So my question is, and I'll use you as an example, Ron, but it's not picking on you. But it's just an example. Because you could-
Yeah, consider that.
So you're the broker for the house in town,
Mhm.
and you acted basically as their advocate. Is this statement saying you weren't allowed to do that? You're not even, you can't refuse, you're not allowed to do that. So can you, is that what it's saying, that, like on my own property, I can act as my advocate? And on all of our properties, obviously, we should be able to advocate for
You can't
ourselves.
do it from the chair, you can't do it from that side of the table.
No, but this is saying you can't do it at all. You cannot act as a lobbyist. You
I
cannot-
think that needs to change, because I don't see how. I mean, there are plenty of people, who have relations, either family members or they're in the business, so that these things are gonna come up. And
Right.
it's one thing to say, I'm gonna recuse myself, but to say, you can't help your child or your cousin or your brother-in-law, or if you're in the business, you can't do that in Bradford. I mean, I just think
I
it's
think
crazy.
you have to do it from this side of the table.
But it's saying that you can't do it at all,
And
I
I
think.
think that's one of the reasons that needs to change.
Okay.
I would
But
agree.
you're not doing it as an act, you're not doing it as a member of the board.
It
Right.
doesn't say
It
that,
doesn't say that, it says you can't do it.
period. It's not, you can't, it's not enough to accuse yourself. And I can use, I thought of you, the judge supplied, because you said you thought it was good for your business. So you're, because you were benefiting.
I
Right?
could say that.
Yeah, so, and I could say the same thing as like, I don't know, they changed the lot size. So I mean, it's a little,
We can get a legal deal on it. and see what they say.
Maybe set it up, and don't wait for it to happen.
I mean, a lot of this is right from them. In general, anyway.
but I think Ron should be able to advocate for his clients.
Yeah, it just means that he would have to recuse himself when that proposal comes before the.
Anything to do with that.
With the voting.
Makes sense.
Right, just refuse, but otherwise it's permissible. I guess it wouldn't be okay for. I think it could be an issue like, if, I decided to go and help Sunny. That would not be okay, because that would be, it's not my job, I'm just I'm using my position really. So I think that wouldn't be okay. Right, to just pick,
Yeah.
to just, because I have been contacted by somebody, they asked me a question, I said, well, I know the answer, but I can't tell you. Because that, it's not appropriate. I haven't did, I wouldn't know how to frame your arguments, but I don't feel that that's appropriate, because that's
And you can say, here's what the rules are.
Yes,
So you can answer the question. Well, if somebody says, how can I persuade the planning commission to approve it? You can't say, here's how you can persuade us, but here's what we look at. Here are the criteria that we look at. These are the things we consider.
right.
It's up to you to figure out how you satisfy those criteria.
But I mean, I shouldn't be writing some of these applications. I think that's.
No,
fine,
I
probably
agree.
not. That's not
I mean,
okay.
it's
But
not,
Ron can write some of these applications if they're his clients. So I think that should be okay.
I don't know. It's a role, people come in here, they're calling an application.
That's your job.
I filled out for it, no, here, read it over and sign it.
Right,
The
but,
right stuff, gonna put in the right box.
but that's your role. It's not my role. You don't want me doing that.
Are you differentiating between clients and versus a friend or family like that?
I'm differentiating between an acquaintance, I guess, and a client.
Well, what difference does it make to the planning commission if I'm advocating for somebody, but I'm not allowed to vote on the situation? Whether they're a client or they're acquaintance.
Because I think in general, we shouldn't be on the other side of the table.
You should be in a rush.
Right. In general.
Well, if you can't
And
vote,
there's
then
a-
you can't have an effect on the
Yeah,
outcome.
if,
You're putting together a good application based on your understanding of the rules.
I think
And
that
there-
should be Bob's job as zoning administrator to help me do a good, complete application. But I don't think you want,
Well,
to find one of us always on the other side of the table. It creates an imbalance also because you're gonna, it makes it uncomfortable to be in an adversarial, position with one of your fellow members.
What's the action that if there is, recommendations like this to review this Article 5 or what's the?
I think we need to review the entire document, and I think at our next meeting, we should go through, I don't want to suggest line by line, because that's accurate, but we should go through it and make sure that we're comfortable with it before we send it to the select board.
Okay, and I would appreciate having a better understanding of Article 5B by the select board.
Well, it's not our document, right? It's the
We're
select
actually-
board's.
We're all have to.
No, I know, but it's not, it is the select board's document, so it's not going to them. We're sort of like making recommendations to them to look at
Right,
their document.
right, I don't know, should we do a motion to ask the select board to 5B, is that 5B to clarify the implication?
Aren't we gonna work on this first before we send it? to the
This is
select
conflict
board?
No,
of
it is a
interest.
separate document.
It's conflict of
I'm sorry.
interest, which is in ours.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
What are,
Article 5.
isn't it there? I don't think you should.
Motion for you to say, again, that you guys bring us this letter. And then do we need a motion for you to say, you guys bring us this?
Well, I think it's a good idea.
I tend to forget these things sometimes, but I will try to remember for Thursday evening. Dan, if I slip, can you, the agenda, the agenda has already been set, so it's going to be for other business, but it is something we can mention.
So the other thing that, I have been asked by, when I have signed a conflict of interest with Two Rivers, they've asked questions about what types of business relationships I have. And I thought that would be appropriate for the planning commission, primarily because it's part of the judicial hearings, and we should,
on the next agenda before we lose the internet.
So,
I'm sorry, guys, we lost the internet.
okay, so then those changes, okay, so. Anyway, so I would suggest that we add some for our commission, basically outlining our different business interests, so that it's helps to make sure that we're not, we have a conflict.
So, but it's the town's conflict of interest policy for, so are we just making a recommendation that they add these questions to the towns?
I guess we have to, the select board's okay with us adding these questions to our conflict. We don't presume on anybody, on any other board. But I would like,
I mean, these are-
it would make sense for our board to do that.
I mean, I think it makes sense for anybody. I have to do this for every nonprofit board I'm on, so I feel like the town could just add it.
No, this, here's the question, this is all the corporations, partnerships, associations, et cetera. These are also, the rest are already material, and relationships. And matters which could create conflict of interest. You just list them out. You just, no idea.
Oh, this is all about me.
It is. All right, yeah. You don't have any idea what happened. I don't.
Hey, Ron,
Well, yeah, I know.
every time you tap, the mic is picking up. I know it's hard.
It's a standard. It helps to just make sure that we're all behaving in a appropriate way. That is a suggestion, it's not a, I mean, I was just a suggestion. So if you want to look this over, we'll. Maybe next meeting.
So it better not be next week.
And then the next thing is, the first changes to zoning bylaws, so these are smattering of things that are crossed up in our current zoning bylaws and subdivision that have caused. Then upon reflection, I felt needed some changes. The first one is to look at the area down from 2025 from east of Kinney Brooks, I think it's to the river, to change that to a mixed use district similar to Oxbow. There are two entities down there that had to go through the appeal because they're violating the planning board. There is this area where semi-industrial, semi-retail, it's just like it's still from the industrial side.
They did not violate that industrial property that does it's been there for more than 15 years. It's been used for the so therefore, under statute, the answer 4454, it is more than 15 years. It's going to be
Which one is talking about?
council.
If that's specific, is specifically prohibited. So, regardless,
That is an industrial piece of property. It has been used as an industrial piece of property since it's settled. Based on our bylaw. They say parking terminals are only allowed in the industrial. Parking terminal is business. There's another business. So it's always been based on our bylaw.
so my suggestion is to have an area a mixed-use commercial district, similar to down by Oxbow, that area. Including that area, so maybe we can have restaurants you can choose, have multi-family, industrial, pretty much anything in that area. The transitional zone between industrial park and the restrictions on it is.
Marcy,
Oh, there's a question. Marcy, there's a question. Go ahead, Carol.
Marcy, I've not been able to hear 3/4 of your comments on this, but on this zoning bylaws, is this just for the historical society, district, or is it for the whole town?
What are you referring to?
Your recommendations for the roofing and all of that, is that just for the historical district, or is it for the whole town?
Historic district.
For the district?
Yes. it's to-
Because if it was for the whole town, I wouldn't want to move into Bradford, because to me, you are dictating what you can have and can't have. And who would want to move to Bradford if they're going to be told they can have a fence, or they can't have, or they can have vinyl siding? I think you're micromanaging on that part of it.
It is not for the whole town. It's an attempt to make the historic district area more, to reduce the number of historic district reviews by making it, more streamlined. So currently, if someone changes their roofing material, as I did, I come in for a historic district review twice. As have other people that have changed their roof. This is suggesting that as long as somebody keeps their roof color to a brown, gray, black color, doesn't do chartreuse or yellow or something like that, they can do whatever they want.
But again, it's just for the historical district.
Just
not for the-
historic, we don't care what you do, anything else. And the same with windows, if you just are changing the window material, but you're keeping the same size of window, the same opening, you don't need to get a permit.
Based on what you have already in the historic district for emergency repairs or maintenance. Changing of windows, changing of the are maintenance.
No, they're not.
Well, wait, a minute. Yes, they are. If you're maintaining the house correctly, on the window side, you change it, that's our maintenance.
This is making it really clear.
You can, but I'm just saying that you're getting almost done.
Okay. And if you're changing from the wood clapboards to vinyl siding, as long as you maintain the reveal, the whole idea is to maintain the visual effect of the house. You don't need a permit. Those three changes will eliminate the majority of historic district reviews that have been conducted in the past, I don't know, 5 years.
So what happens when my point of view is that my vinyl siding is pretty close to what my wood clapboards are now? But somebody else thinks it isn't, right? And I've already got it.
Final say when it comes to story in weeds.
Yeah, but the old clapboards are different.
You know, we're saying that it's okay for you to put a different siding on your house as long as you maintain the reveal of your windows. So the trimmer on your windows should be retained, as was done on the house at the Lund house.
You're not preventing it from being fat.
I don't know what that is.
You wrap it on. So you take your trim, you bend it, and fit over it. You don't have to paint it.
Talk about the windows or the?
Windows,
Windows and doors.
windows soften, doors forward. Any of that, you can or.
I think you might have to look doing that.
Well, you can wrap it, it's just, you can do it, it's just bend the metal. But there's sometimes, if you're not replacing a window, one of the ways for the, if it's a rental property, with EMP regulations is that they actually, one of the requirements is to wrap the sill of the window with the thin metal, which basically you can shape it, like almost the same as it's there.
Right, or get one.
Or, yeah, if you want to do that, cheapest thing is do that.
So
But,
it is my understanding, the way that the zoning was written, whether or not it's interpreted that way, was if you change the roof material, you had to get a permit. You
Yeah,
had to go through a
so-
historic district review, if you change the window, you had to get a permit. And it's, the suggestion by me is that we change that so that roofing material, we don't care what the roofing material is, just as long as it stays in the brown, gray, black. And if you want to, we could put it, if you want to change it to a different color, you have to come in for a permit, I would. It would just be, I think we could just say no. But
The only thing I bring up to that as far as changing the roofing material, if you've got what, like it goes down through the village, if you've got, which is mostly either standing seam or asphalt shingles, or in slag, but now someone says, well, I'm gonna put a corrugated
go for it.
roofing, but that's not nearly as attractive as asphalt and standing seam or slag.
No, but, we approved that on one house. Yeah, we did, it's not quite core, it was like corrugated. I would say fine, I'm not opposed to that. It's a brown, gray, black.
Yeah,
If you got a gray roof now, put a gray tight shingle on it.
Yes.
If you use an architect shingle, driving by at 25 miles an hour, you're gonna have a hard time figuring out. That's still slated as well. Asphalt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my, those are my suggestions, that it'll make it very clear, there'll be an argument across this pavement, that it's not, we don't have an argument, you're gonna say no permit. And I think that,
Have you got the fences yet? By favor.
I want to go into the other one first.
Okay.
No parking in front of the building.
yes, but, that's not on the street, but on the front lawn. In front, no parking in the front of the building. Like,
I mean, Veterans Inc.
Veterans Inn. You can park on the street.
That's their parking lot.
Yes, in the historic, we're talking historic district. No, don't park in front of the house. Park on the side and the back, not in the front of the house.
So are you talking parallel to the road or?
Yeah. Not the street.
No parking
The
on the lawn.
on the lawn, what
Yeah,
ordinarily
okay,
the
but-
lawn.
converting part of the front lawn to a parking area, that would be prohibited in the historic district. And park beside the house, park behind it.
Park on the street, if that's possible, park on the street. But not on the front lawn. The idea is to keep the front facade of the historic homes visible. And as it was mentioned, I forget what one I was in, housing, authority, all these people from, I bet they've never been to Grafton before, all these people from Montpelier and Burlington. And they're saying, this is so, this is really nice, it's such a beautiful village. Comments all from many of them all throughout the day saying how pretty it was, and it is, there's just beautiful homes here. And the way to keep it that way is really, we're just focusing on the front. I don't care what. I guess I'm speaking for myself. I don't care what you do inside, I don't care what you're doing in your backyard, but, keep the house, just, because that's what's so beautiful about the village.
So right now, the way things are, whatever's there is basically grandfather. If somebody wanted to create a parking area in front of the house or something now.
Yeah, if somebody, let's say they want to put in an accessory dwelling unit, so they're gonna have some tenants, and they say, we want to put 2 parking spaces right in front of the house, we would say, no, put them beside the house, put them behind the house.
Right,
I think that totally makes sense in the historic district.
right. I mean, I know when Veterans even did that, I think it was your dad.
Well, that was way back, yeah.
Yeah.
a long
It
time
was
ago.
like, people were like, we were sad. I was sad, but there's no place to park,
But
but
that building isn't of historic value anymore because it's been changed so much that it doesn't even look like what the historical house looked like.
I know.
I mean, how it got changed back
How many
again.
apartments in the last 10 years have we had this problem?
I mean, specifically parking in front of the
Yeah,
house.
people park, making their front yard, in the parking lot. But I'm thinking, okay, you're saying the historic district, but I think you're more inclined to North Main Street versus, North Pleasant Street.
How about South Main Street?
Well, and part of South Main Street is in the historic district.
I'm not
A lot of it, all over it.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, these are not, why don't we, I'm throwing them out there.
Think about it.
Fencing and plantings, there's been an ongoing issue, debate about fencing, although clearly there, and the intention was about fencing. In the front, again, in the front of the house. And the idea behind that is it retain the visibility of the house. And an example of someone who obscured their house was Karen Foley, who put big hedges up in front and you couldn't see anything. So that's what this is about. It's not talk about any other, follow this, then everything's fine.
Why don't we just go back to take in the exceptions line, take out except fences in the historic district require site plan review. Take those right out and just go back to we don't see those fences. And because over historically, how many problems have we had with fences historically? In 20 years, we've only had that long. How many problems have we had?
So what difference does this make?
Why you have it there?
Because Karen Foley put a hedge in
Because
front.
there's a neighbor that gives you a hard time.
It wasn't me.
That's what.
Okay, so that's another suggestion to not cover every single fence.
Why it's 3 feet?
It's still visible. The
I
house is still.
went through today on the way down and measured 3 fences. One was 4 foot, one of them,
So we'll change it to 4 feet.
yeah, like I say, they varied 3 foot real low. Like a split rail fence at, Denny Park, that's 42 inches.
Okay,
I'm just saying that the 3 foot, where did it come from?
okay. It's a suggestion.
I'm told, okay.
Well, if you go back to the real historic district, it all had pine fencing all along Main Street.
Okay,
All 3 sides.
okay, so that would be nice.
Because they had one.
Oh,
So one of the fences would be like there.
Yes, and the other one that's. There's another
So
one.
say we approve the picket fence, so that, like for
on Main
neighbors.
Street
Yeah, for their Main Street.
That's one of the ones.
right now. Yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
Oh, one, 2, you mean that?
yes, yeah. Anyway, clarification. Seems to be. Suggestion, I think this would clarify this, if there's any change in use in the central business district or the lower plain, it requires a site plan review, whether it's permitted or conditional use. And the reason for that is made it very clear, is because when you change the use, you can change the parking use, the traffic, basically the traffic cones and the other aspects of what site plan review does. It was intended to be in the zoning bylaws, but does not seem to have been done in a clear fashion. Discuss as to whether or not you want to have that or you don't want to have that.
So it's something. Yeah.
It's not clear, Bob feels it's not in there, it was intended to be in there, and change the use. From one, say you have a restaurant and you change it, like OESU, it was a furniture store, and it changed to OESU. The impact was not increasing the use of parking. And so that, there's a benefit to having a site plan review in part, not so much. And site plans don't say you can't do something. I think the last time we turned down this was Rapid Tap. But the one thing was voice to the neighbors to express their ideas and opinions about whether they have concerns or whether it gives them a means of expression, and it also helps to determine whether or not we should put some new constraints on it.
Doesn't change of use fall under the zoning board of adjustment and not the planning commission?
No, this is a permitted use. It's not conditional use. It just requires site plan. It's not a zoning board of adjustment. It's no adjustment. It's not a conditional use. It's a permitted use, but it's a change. And so the change is a change of one type of use to another. That's what's in our zoning right now. You see a lot of them where it says site plan review, it's no conditional, it's a permitted use, but it requires site plan. There's a number of them that are like this. And so that's right, that would specifically say what we're supposed to do. Pardon?
Does a permit run with the land?
Yes.
Okay, the Copelands never had to get a permit to take that to OESU, because that was originally built in Bangor.
Change the use to something else, and that previous use does not stand anymore, it's gone, because you don't get to accumulate all the uses. And we can put that in our zone. Because it's really had an impact, and it continues. I was over at the post office the other day, and there was a discussion with a new assistant superintendent with Dr. Barton about parking. Because now they're actually there, and it's challenging. But they had a hearing, and he was fine with it. He had no issue. So, but I think this is important to be reviewed and change the use. And we can discuss it further. In terms of the subdivision bylaw, the one thing that came out was the only way to address, and if you're not concerned, then you have to address it, the impact of Ron Kelly's situation where the deer well was going to basically make the property across the road unbuildable. And that's because the state doesn't care. And so that it's basically, the state allows that. And so the only way to have,
What does the state allow?
the state doesn't care that by having the well shield and make somebody else's property unbuildable.
That's not my experience at all. It's just the opposite. They're very much care. It's part of getting your whole permit and that you have to have your well shield. In fact, I had a
You
guy.
have to have your well shield, but they will not, they will not tell you that you can't put the well there. They're fine with having a well shield on another person's property. I know that, I live on my
Well,
property.
by putting a
Yes.
well near the edge of your property, you are restricting what your neighbor can do, because your well shield extends onto their property.
And the state is, doesn't
And the
have any
state says, we
right.
don't care, as long as it's shielded, we don't care.
Right,
We do away with all.
so Bob has brought up the point that if you have a very small lot, how can you be 100 feet from property lines? It was suggested that the only way to really cope with a well shield, is they're pretty large, I mean, drill wells are enormous, but drill wells are pretty large, is to stay 100 feet from property lines. We can, if we want to do something like that, that is an approach on remedying that situation. That was suggested by Kevin Geiger as the only recourse you have against trying to basically watch out for the neighbor. And if we can make it 100 feet, if possible, most people don't have vertical lots in the residential zone, most. And most of the time, if they do, then the person is next, there's not a lot of 1 acre lots next to each other in a residential zone.
Well, every time I go for a permit, first thing the engineer does, goes out there and tell me where the wells are, and so.
Yes.
He goes from there and determines what, if it does happen, like you say, belong to another person's property. That, you know, that is what it is. You know, whoever gets there first gets there.
Yes,
To do what you're doing here, proposing is, let's say with the Covey situation, it's, you know, it is over here, but because of the way things are laid out, he doesn't care. If you propose that, you're taking that ability away from Fahey going, oh, it doesn't matter whether I have these approach on my land or not. Because if you don't allow that, then you may have just made it unable to subdivide. And you've lost that, you've lost.
we don't want to do that. I mean, we can work on the language. We could say when possible, as much as possible. We can't.
Then the other thing
we
you
can't
can
say,
do, how are you determining where the property line is and measuring this 100 feet? And who's gonna be responsible for that?
the surveyor, because it's in the subdivision, it's only under subdivision. If that was a pre-existing lot, we are not regulating, we don't have any right to regulate wastewater permits anymore. We don't support them, it's all done for the state. It's only when you're doing a subdivision. We can't do what objectively would be started, which I think in New Hampshire, the house regulations, which is to minimize the impact on the neighbor. We can't do that, we can't even say that that's what we're doing here, all we can do is say the drill blast to be 100 feet from a distance from the property. That's my understanding, that's the only thing I can guide to work with, is a way to.
But the other thing you can do is just make that broad generalization rule, what I've seen many times, that sounds good in this situation. But now you go to another place where you've got, this person's got a small, doing this, and they've got a small little area where they can build. If this regulation was there in the state, then, you know, it's like, okay with it, there is no way the neighbor could even build on the rest of it, they want to just because it's this rock ledge close. But to where this well site would go for this person here, will be close to that border. For property line.
Yep.
If they run into this kind of thing, they're sorry, you can't do it, it's just, you got this rule here.
Right.
Even though there's no chance of how that's really gonna adversely affect that neighbor's land regardless. So now this person can't actually put it in such a system.
I think perhaps we can do a waiver.
Or something like that, I mean, that's possible, there's things like that you don't anticipate,
Right.
that I've seen happen happen.
Right, I mean, maybe, because we have waivers for setbacks, we do make waivers for setbacks and stuff, and because we do, you know, we run into unanticipated situations. And the problem is we can't. I asked Kevin if we could, because I didn't know if they were gonna be able to look it out, if we could say, we encourage you to look at your well farther away, so that you're not pushing you. Because we have to really reference against that, because it gets interpreted as a requirement. And we can't really do that. It's just, it's not enforceable, it's. You
How
know,
about
it's-
if we just say, take the, property lines into consideration when we're doing your well placement, and not put any specifications on it.
Well, then you can put it where you want, so then. You know, it's,
Say something like, so take into consideration the property lines and to the greatest extent practical shall locate the well such that it has minimal or no impact on neighboring
we can't
properties.
do that. We can't say that.
What's the difference between that, what you just said, which is
We
way
can't
too
say
broad, in my
that.
opinion, you're saying 100 feet,
We can't say,
it's the same thing.
we can't say, I don't believe we can say that. I don't believe we can say that. Minimal impact. I don't think we can say exactly what the, but I'll ask him if we can say.
Yeah, I mean, and as I said, to the greatest extent practical, I put, and I think I put another wiggling phrases in there that it expresses our intent without forcing anybody to do anything. So
Right.
Yeah, who determines what's minimum, the neighbor, or who's like, I don't want you building anything here.
You-
know my
If,
back
you know, if you write, and I'm saying this as a state bureaucrat whose job is to write rules. If you write a set of rules that cover every conceivable contingency, you end up with something that's bigger than the Boston phone book. And people can't understand what the requirements are. When you simplify it and condense things and make general statements, then you get into weird situations that the rules don't cover. There is no perfect way to write a set of rules, but as one who's done it for 30 years, I'm now at the end of my career thinking simpler is better. Make it clear, make it understandable, and when you get those 1% of cases where your rules really don't cover this weird contingency, you use common sense, you figure something out. And if people don't like it, they go to court and then the judge decides it.
So your intent of saying minimal as possible versus an arbitrary number like 100 feet was to make it less specific?
Yes. To make it accommodate unique situations. And because we have to come through this hearing process, we'll have the ability to, it'll provide flexibility for us.
So my issue with that is that it seems to me that's such a more of a difficult arguable situation by leaving that interpret to the landowner, we think
Never worked.
first upon versus, well, it's 100 feet. Or we have a waiver in there if, like you say, that, or like I was saying, that piece of land could be affected because you don't build on it. So we just give it a waiver.
The Thursday, yeah.
Good night.
Must be at least some of the regulations that have something like that.
I'll look and see if I can find more, but I think it's, I mean, I had a neighbor who's, well, moved it, no problem, and taken up, from another field, and you can't do anything about it, it just is. And then,
But what effect does that have on you? I mean, is
well, I
there
can't put
something,
it in a pond,
why couldn't you?
you can't disturb that area, you can't put anything there. I can.
But this is for a well shield or for a septic?
It's for a septic shield, uphill. It could be a well shield, no, I think it's a well shield, it's really done well, I think it's a well shield. But, you know.
I didn't think it affected that, I thought it was just septic systems that affected a well shield. You're under the impression that a pond.
You can't build there.
Oh, no, you can't build a house.
Can't build on a well
You
shield.
can't park vehicles there. You can probably raise animals, but if somebody says, you know, there's a danger that I could get, bacteria in my well, they might be able to restrict. No, there's a lot of restrictions for.
That particular, Doug Well has an above ground stream on that part of the field, is the spring. So I have no question for them. It's a terrible lot. But, you know, and it's a shield, and I said, well, can't you, you know, you can't. It's not affecting me tremendously, but it's not on my property, it's covering my property, and there's nothing I can do about it. This was much work, this is a very tiny piece of land. And,
Basically made it.
Altogether.
Oh,
so,
it was just leasehold.
I think you beat us.
So- I guess,
Well,
if you all can think about those proposals, and then next time we can, hopefully pass some of them, hammer them out.
Should that all-
That's all right, nothing to do.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so I think we're done. And our next meeting is September 7th. That's the day after Labor Day. We could change it to the 14th if you want.
Probably a good idea, just in case.
I don't know if that
Something
works.
comes
for-
up, I have to go out of town.
I don't know if that works for the meeting. On Tuesday, the 14th. Okay.
As a general rule, I'm just going to make a general statement. This, I think if we say first and third Tuesday, we should try to stick to that schedule. I've
Yes.
had a number of people come up to me recently and say, why are you folks meeting all kinds of random days? And I said, you know, well, summertime things get a little squirrely and, you know, sometimes only once a month and yada, yada. But to the extent possible, I think we should try to hold it to the first and third Tuesday. I don't know what my plans are for Labor Day weekend, but, you know, I'm going to say a few for Tuesday.
No, so, yeah.
Okay, all right, so it'll be 7th and 21st, I'm trying to work it out with Two Rivers to start coming, helping us update our town plan. And hopefully, and I'm hoping she can just zoom in, I'm just kind of check with her.
I will be a little bit late on saying just that our meeting address and various like.
You won't be able to hear.
I will just be late because.
Oh dear. Yeah, Monique. How will that work?
Are we adjourned?
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending our meeting.